During the most recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan brutally mocked Donald Trump over Trump's biggest political defeat of his second presidency, which is the release of the Epstein Files that Trump worked so hard publicly and privately to thwart and undermine. And Rogan, who has been advocating for the release of the Epstein Files from the very beginning, took a well-earned victory lap about that. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this came during the most recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience during a conversation with Rogan's fellow comedian, Brian Simpson. Take a look.
It's layers upon layers. It's those Russian nesting dolls, and you open it, and there's another one in there, and you open, there's another one in there.
Corruptions at all time, bro. The Epstein Files.
I heard there's no files. I heard it's a hoax, and then all of a sudden he's going to release the files. Well, I thought there was no files.
Man,
he wants an investigation now.
Listen,
like what?
So let's stop right there. I love this. Okay, remember, Joe Rogan is one of, if not the biggest podcaster in the world. He interviewed Donald Trump. He helped launder and sanitize Donald Trump to millions of Americans, usually independents and center-left, center-right-leaning independents. I believe that Joe Rogan, along with Andrew Schultz at the Flagrant Podcast, Tim Dillon, Theo Vaughn, they were instrumental in getting Donald Trump reelected. I'm not saying Rogan himself individually was, but collectively, I think these, manosphere, right-wing coded, MAGA adjacent podcasters helped deliver Trump back to the White House. And so, given that Trump immediately betrayed Rogan and Theo Vaughn and all the others on the Epstein Files, walking back his commitment, and then trying to gaslight everybody and saying, actually, not only am I not going to release the Epstein Files, there are no files to release because it's all a hoax. Rogan is absolutely right to make fun of Trump in this way. And I wish he would do it more ruthlessly.
What is going on?
They voted 427 to 1.
Who was the one?
Whoa, who's the one?
I didn't see why he said, but he did.
National security.
Let me pull it
No
up.
fucking way you gonna be the one. No, if you found out,
Mike Johnson, who ultimately voted for the House version of the legislation to force the release of the Epstein Files while simultaneously opposing it. Again, he tried to have his cake and eat it too. He did claim that it was a matter of national security. That was one of his concerns. I mean, that's something that Republicans have been trying to trot out to prevent the release of the Epstein Files, that there could be national security implications. But that was not, I don't think, the reason. If I remember correctly, it's not the reason why the lone Republican congressman decided not to vote to support it. But they get into that.
found out all of Congress voted for something and you the only one that didn't, can you change your vote? You can't be the one, guy.
It should be that it has to be like no one can know what the vote is before you do it.
Bro, I would love to hear his reason. How you the one?
Well, I was feeling like let's move past it and let's get on with our business. And
Bro, you can't move past it.
these billionaires are good people. Okay,
You can't move past
They're
it.
good,
Clay
solid people.
Higgins was the one.
Who?
Clay Higgins.
Where's he out of?
Arkansas.
Louisiana?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
there
knew
he
it was one of
goes.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was Clay Higgins, who's one of the more deranged MAGA Republican congresspeople, and that's truly saying something. Even people like Troy Nehls, another unhinged MAGA Republican congressman who originally said, no, I'm not going to vote on this, and then Trump flipped, and then he said, yes, sir, I'll vote on this. I mean, as pathetic as that is, at least he voted in favor of releasing the Epstein Files. He gets no credit for it, but he gets more credit than Clay Higgins, who is truly unhinged, okay? Foghorn Leghorn of the House of Representatives. So later on in the conversation, the topic goes back to Epstein, and Brian Simpson makes a really compelling point about what the contents of the file might include.
The amount of money that's been paid out to victims of Jeffrey Epstein is like $300 million so far.
From where?
I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, but there's also a bunch of money that just moved after he died that no one really understands either.
This is all so sketchy.
Bro, I'm telling you, a lot of
That's
people,
so
if they really
sketchy.
release this shit in earnest, it's gonna change everything. I hope it's that powerful.
Do you think it will be?
Well, all I know is
Because-
the most powerful person on earth has been doing a lot to keep that shit from coming out. And I'm not like everybody else. I don't think Trump is in there in a criminal way. But I think he has a lot of powerful friends that have been putting pressure on him to keep that shit under wraps.
I think
Could be. Or he could be implicated. We just don't know. That's the problem. And Trump has behaved in such a way that it's only fueling cause for speculation. He has no one but himself to blame. And it's reflected in a pretty shocking poll that recently came out. But again, I really appreciate what Brian Simpson said there, that, hey, people say that there's nothing consequential here, and yet the most powerful man in the world is scared shitless of releasing these files. And that says something, especially when Trump knows that the consequence is pissing off his base. So for Trump to do this, he must have some truly powerful incentive to not release the Epstein files. There's something there implicating him in one way, shape, or form, or people that he cares about. And when you consider the fact that Trump is a malignant narcissist who really doesn't give a shit about anybody, we can only speculate that it's because he's worried about what it will say about him. So, NewJersey.com actually ran this article here about a poll. They didn't do the poll. They just did an article about the poll, which I found interesting. Shocking new poll. Here's what Americans think Trump knew of Epstein. Most voters are casting doubt on Donald Trump's claims that he wasn't aware of sexual abuse by the late disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, according to a new poll. A Morning Consult poll released Tuesday found 60% of Americans believe Trump knew of Epstein's actions, while just 15% say he did not. Let's stop right there. Stop right there, okay, for just a second. A supermajority, not 51, not 53, 60% of Americans think that Donald Trump knew of Epstein's actions. That's an indictment. That's just an indictment of the highest caliber. It's also corroborated, by the way, in the Epstein files and Epstein emails, I should say the Epstein emails that were provided by the Epstein estate to the House Oversight Committee. It was released by House Democrats on the Oversight Committee. Jeffrey Epstein told Michael Wolff, of course Trump knew about the girls. This was the exact quote, of course Trump knew about the girls. So that's probably why, in part, why Americans believe that Trump knew about Jeffrey Epstein's actions, because it's the most plausible explanation. Not proven, but the most plausible. It also notes that, meanwhile, another 22% of voters think that Trump was aware but did not participate. 38%, this is even more shocking, 38%, so more than a third, 38% believe both, claiming Trump knew about the abuse and also participated. More than 1/3 of this country believes that Donald Trump was an accomplice, was a fellow criminal, a fellow abuser of underage women alongside Jeffrey Epstein. That's not good. Now, again, low salience issue, not going to be outcome determinative in any respect in terms of elections, although I suppose it should be if you believe that the sitting president was involved, not just knew of, but was involved in the heinous activity of the most infamous sex abuser in American history, at least modern American history. This has been an absolute nightmare for Trump. Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Andrew Schultz of the Flagrant Podcast, Tim Dillon, they should hammer Trump on this. Trump should get no credit for them. None. For rolling over in the face of this congressional vote, because he tried everything in his power to thwart it. CNN also has a really good analysis about, basically the political backlash here as well, and showing how Trump is politically exposed. We won't read the whole thing, but just to give you kind of some perspective on this. To paraphrase a perennial Washington question, what is Trump going to release and when will he release it? Trump is reeling from a spectacular defeat, easily the worst from his own party on Capitol Hill during 2 turbulent presidencies. After every step he took to stall and deflect the Jeffrey Epstein saga blew up in his face, no one would have believed as recently as this past weekend that a bill requiring the Justice Department to release files related to the convicted sex offender would race through the GOP Congress with only 1 vote against it by Tuesday evening. But such can be the power of suddenly unleashed political justice. Now, Trump and his Attorney General Pam Bondi, who both triggered the political uproar by pledging to open the Epstein files, only to then refuse to do so, are back where they started, only in a much more politically vulnerable position. And they have unappetizing political choices at the moment when Trump's presidency appears damaged, his popularity is falling, and a crush of other intractable issues bogs down the White House. Speculation is growing about whether a president who many were recently warning was a dictator is close to becoming a lame duck. And I will point out that actually, and I'll bring up this clip here, but Jeffrey Epstein's victims, one of the victims, says that Donald Trump needs to apologize.
Jenna Lisa, you're shaking your head yes when Congressman Khanna is saying that the president should have you and the other survivors there when he signs this bill.
He he owes us that much. He owes us an apology, for sure. And I think that would be one way of showing some remorse for this drawn out process that didn't need to be.
And you don't see this in a political way. I was listening to you this morning. You said you voted for President Trump, actually, but your plea was to stop making this about him and to essentially start making it about y'all.
Yeah, I mean, he really ran his campaign on this. This is why I voted for him. This release of these files has been so important to me for so long that when he ran with that, I really had some hope that someone was going to do something about it, no matter what the motive was, right, behind it, that he was going to release them and so solidarity with us. But then he completely flipped. And I mean, he was even working with our lawyers and stuff. So it was really hard to go from helping us to completely turning on us and then calling it a Democratic hoax when he knew it wasn't. So he thought it was just a political play, and I think that was wrong, and I think that added fuel to the fire against both parties and where it didn't need to be.
So that is an Epstein survivor who voted for Trump, saying that she's disgusted with him and that he owes her an apology. And unfortunately, I suspect that she and the others will be waiting quite a long time. There you have it, folks. Joe Rogan taking a victory lap, mocking Donald Trump over an issue that Trump tried to gaslight him and the rest of the American people over. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.